Good afternoon, dear students. We are going to start the food safety and legislation management lecture. This is the other part of this lecture series. Actually, we have conducted the regulation part successfully and laws and regulations. So assignment also given and food safety part normally conducted by Dr. Amali, but she's on leave these days, so I am going to continue. So there are around 5 more lectures about food safety, and we have widened up the legislation management part. So I have uploaded 2 presentations on the LMS folder. So actually, the food safety part is also important, and there are some theory parts. So you can read before starting. The next time you better to read the presentations and join with the discussion. So actually, food safety is one of the very important topics we are discussing, and in Sri Lanka also we have so many cases were reported during last few months. So food safety and food security, those are 2 terms. So don't take these 2 words similar as similar words. So food security is one term, food safety is another one. So under the food safety, we are discussing about the how to provide foods, how to provide safe foods. It means to protect our consumer. And under the food laws and regulations, also we discuss how to provide safe foods. So there are 2 parts. Here we are going to discuss how to produce foods and how to make the environment and how to design the environment as a safe one. Like these things we are going to discuss under food safety. And in the legislation part, we have discussed what are the rules and regulations available, but the ultimate objective of these 2 lectures are to protect the consumer. And in your first batch, we have 2 lectures like food safety and food regulations. So we amalgamate these 2 lectures within these 2 years. Right. So according to Codex Alimentarius, you know what is Codex Alimentarius. So food safety is the assurance that food will not cause harm to the consumer when it is prepared and or eaten according to its intended use. So it means to provide safe foods. And according to AIFS, so food safety refers to handling, preparing, and storing food in a way to best reduce the risk of individuals becoming sick from foodborne illnesses. So you know all these things, right? Then what are the foodborne illnesses, right? It is easy to understand. Foodborne diseases means diseases occurrence as a result of food. So that's why the meaning is there, foodborne, right? Then consumption of contaminated foods and products. So what is contamination? You know, there are we can do 2 types of contamination. We just think and contaminate, and then automatically there are some contaminants, right? We will discuss. And and contamination of food at any stage, right? From raw materials to the final product, right? And also while we are consuming, also there are some contaminants, right? So you can it's very familiar thing, food contamination and foodborne diseases. Those are very common things, and you can read some you can get some details from the internet also, and there are some published articles as well. Then importance of safe foods. Actually, the safe foods are very important. So basically, when it comes to industrial level, right? When it comes to industrial level, you know, the last year there is a incident. There is an incident regarding the coconut oil. So I hope that you can remember the brand name and the company name. one name was there. So and the sugar issue also, there is a similar company. So what happened when we get outbreak, food outbreak? So our company, that's actually a black mark for our company name and our brand name also. That's one side. So if it is a food outbreak in our home, so you can, you know, it's actually a health issue, right? The factors involved in the potential threat caused by foods, inappropriate agricultural practices, right? It means fertilizers and insecticide, pesticide like things we are going to add. We are going to use these things in spite of adhering to the regulations, right? And the standards. Poor hygiene at any stage of the food chain. Actually, you can, you will have, you already have this experience in food gate houses. Still, in our canteen also, you can see the hygienic conditions. And in some very reputed companies also, you can see the hygiene, right? Very poor hygienic environment is there. Not only in the food production, but at the food chain. So, very good example. There's a study. It reveals that um, some bacteria related to fecal contamination. We found all the samples from supermarkets, vegetable samples. So, what is the reason behind that? So, you can see when you are traveling to Nuvarali or Bandarilla, you can see how they wash their vegetables, harvest, right? They just take their harvest and wash those products by using the water sources available close to the road, right? But it is actually contaminated water sources because you can see very small houses are there. The people are living there without having good hygienic practices, right? Actually, they don't have basic facilities, so they used to do some unhygienic activities. So as a result of that, the water get contaminated. So we are going to wash our vegetables using the similar water, and as a result of that, you can observe fecal contaminated vegetables, especially in supermarkets, right? So it means inappropriate agricultural practices, and food chain is very important. So you can do this exercise. You can prepare the food chain for vegetables, so you know how it happens. So the farmer, he or she take their harvest and then handle it up to the road or any selling point. Then somebody will buy it, then transport into a large centers. Then again, this transportation is there and come to the small, not small, uh, another place, maybe from Dambulla to Kandy, right? In Kandy also we have some vegetable distributors, then they will distribute to small uh, centers, right? Then we are going to buy it, and we also transport from supermarket or any place to our home. Then we again store it and going to consume it. So the food chain is there. So uh, how many handlers? At least there are 16 persons. According to my knowledge, there are around 16 persons, right? If it is a piece of carrot or any vegetable, so it means 16 people they touch that carrot, right? So you can imagine the contamination, right? And if it is there are some people with poor hygiene practices, then you can see what happens. So food hygiene is very important. A lack of preventive controls during processing and preparation of the food. Preventive control should be there to control food contamination. Incorrect use of the chemical materials, it means some fertilizers, insecticide, pesticide, and some cleaning chemicals are also there. I hope that you can remember the one news regarding the polos preparation. They use some very hazardous chemicals to prevent its color, right? And contaminated raw materials are also there. Sometimes it is a food, so there are so many raw materials we have to use. So there are some contaminated raw materials in the food. Food and water an inappropriate stage. It means inappropriate stage. Sometimes if it is the boiling condition is not good and storage temperature is also not good, right? So these are the there are so many factors, but out of those factors, here you can see some factors, very important factors cause for food contamination. And these issues can be classified into three three categories: food hygiene, personal hygiene, and food handlers, and kitchen sanitation, right? So food hygiene means actually you are aware about the hygiene now, but we personal hygiene also very important, but nowadays we are practicing some personal hygienic conditions due to this pandemic situation. The washing facilities are there and masks we are wearing and hair nets, everything we have to use now. But before 2-3 years back, then the food hygiene and personal hygiene conditions reported very bad because even they never use a mask also. A mask, okay. Food hygiene influenced by purchasing low quality or stale foods, storing food in appropriate conditions, cooking large amount of food more than is necessary, right? Likewise, there are hygienic issues. So you can download the Food Hygiene Act, regulation, right? I hope that you have already gone through these things because I have your assignment also, right? So under the Food Hygienic Act, you can see there are so many hygienic regulations, there are so many facts, and there are so many things to study, right? How to store foods, how to handle foods, how to prepare, cook, and store foods, everything is there, right? So you can understand. And food hygiene, if foods are contaminated at any stage from production to consumption, the hygiene of the food is compromised, right? It means, as we discussed, value chain is there, food chain is there from farmer to the consumer. I told that 16 people approximately touch one food. So we have to pay our attention on food hygiene, right? Right? There are some inappropriate transport channels. You can see how they transport. Several people, they are sitting on the vegetable bags, and you can see how they handle it and how they store it. And some animals also put their things, and some very bad things are also there. So contaminants are there. So we have to stop. And how to clean foods and how to cook foods, and especially when we consume salads. So in salads, there is no boiling procedure. Heating procedure is not there. So we just take foods and cut into pieces, slice or dice foods, and get eat. So in such conditions, those conditions are, there are some contaminants. So it's very important to pay our attention on cleaning and food hygiene, right? And sometimes you can see cross contamination is also there. We use the same one, right? We use the same thing. As an example, in your kitchen, you can see we have a cutting board and a knife. Those are the basic tools in our kitchen. We use a similar knife and cutting board to cut chicken, and then you are going to prepare a salad again without wash it properly. So then what happen? If chicken is very highly susceptible food, so there are some hazardous microbes as well. So but The salads we are eating directly without heating, so sometimes they will contaminate. We call it as cross-contamination. In industrial level also, there are some very good practices. We have to arrange our process line straight or L shape, right? C shape not recommended, right? C shape, you can see C. In the one end of C, there are raw materials. The other end, again, the finished product. So contamination might be there. Contaminants also there. So there is a possibility to get contaminated. So we advise industry people to arrange their process line to as a straight process or a L shape, straight shape or L shape to avoid cross contamination, right? And the another important one is danger zone. It is very important in food safety. The danger zone is one of the keys, right? Basically, there are several definitions that use as 4.4 degree of Celsius to 60 and 5 to 65. But here you can see the danger zone, we consider it as a range from 4.4 degree of Celsius to 60 degrees of Celsius, right? Here in this picture also you can see it means 40 Fahrenheit to 140 Fahrenheit. Here you can see the danger zone, right? It means that basically you know that if it is a highly perishable food, as an example, chicken or sausages like ham-like products, meat-based products. So we store, normally we store such foods under freezing conditions. It means below 40, right? Below 40, and we consume chicken or meat-based product, even in milk, highly perishable foods, after heated or after cooking. So it means by increasing 60 degrees of Celsius. So 40 to 140 means danger zone. So highly susceptible for microbial growth, and this temperature, the room temperature also, you know, in under the room temperature, microbes will grow easily, right? So if you are going to prepare our foods, so please follow these temperature ranges. So it is not recommended to prepare, store, and handle foods in between 40 to 140. So either we have to improve use below 40 or after 140, right? In this temperature range we call as danger zone, right? Keep food out of the danger zone. Keep the hot food at above 140, it means 60 degrees of Celsius. If it is a cold storage food, then below 40, means around 4.4 or below, right? Cook raw meat and poultry to save minimum internal temperature. Storing food leftovers in shallow containers for quick cooling and refrigerated at 40 or below within 2 hours, right? Reheating. If you are going to reheat some food, the internal temperature should be increased at least for about 165, right? These are the recommended temperatures, right? I hope that it is you got the point and you understood the thing I explained about the danger zone, right? If you have questions, you can ask. Okay. Personal hygiene, right? It's very important one topic. When we are going to initiate a food processing company, personal hygiene is very important. Food handlers, you know who are the food handlers? The people who are going to handle foods, right? So personal hygiene means our basic hygienic things. How to prepare our hair and how to clean our hands, how to wash hands. There are several techniques, standard techniques, five-step cleaning, seven-step cleaning, four-step cleaning. Likewise, there are several steps. So we have to follow these standard methods, right? But nowadays, it is very commonly used, these personal hygiene measures. So you can't enter, even you can't enter to a food processing company with any fever, or if you have fever or any rash or like health issue, so you can't enter, right? Because cross contamination will be happening. It will happen because, and raw foods and cooked foods are also there. So if we are going to handle foods with some hygienic issues, so it means, so there is a possibility to contaminate it, right? So personal hygiene is very important. You can see how to adhere to the personal hygiene. So washing facilities should be there, proper washing facilities. So in our home, we use soap to clean our hands. But when it comes to food industry, so they are not allowed to use such domestic soap because there is a smell, fragrance, and some color. So for industrial purposes, there are some specially designed uh, chemicals, food grade chemicals, without having aroma and color. If there is a color, sorry, aroma, so you can see we are going to wash our hands by using such hand sanitizer. The very good aroma is there. So then you enter the food processing company and handle some foods. As an example, maybe tea. So those are very sensitive foods. So what happened when you handle the food with that aroma? So there again there is a contamination, right? You have that experience. Actually, I suppose you all have this experience. What happened when you put a bread, loaf of bread, and a soap together? Then there is a off flavor of a bread, of that bread, and even in tea and some soap or fragrant one together, you can't transport. After that, there will be a off flavor or taste. So such things we have to avoid. And personal hygiene is very important. And then the third one is kitchen hygiene or food processing plant designing, right? I will explain these things next year under the principles of quality management. And here there is a regulation, food safety and food hygiene. You can download it. Download it. There are under that regulation, there are so many things to follow. And the materials, how to select the kitchen materials, you can see always we have to use stainless steel like food grade materials, right? We can't, they are not recommending aluminium because you can see the oxide, right? So the contamination is there. So therefore there are some recommended materials. Plan and interior design of the kitchen to facilitate proper hygienic practices. It should be easy to clean, right? In some kitchens, you can see it is very difficult to clean, right? The hazards can be happen, right? Some insects are there, and some soil materials. It's very difficult to clean. As an example, you can see in your gas burner, which is available in your home, it is very difficult to clean. So then what happened? The food materials are there, they're trapped, right? Then when you switch off the gas burner, gas cooker, then there are some insect like cockroaches. So you can see some insects are there and some animals are there. Then the foods also will get contaminated as a result of those animals. So the kitchen materials should be constructed using durable materials, right? And free of hazardous substances. When we are going to select these materials, should be hazard-free materials. As I told you earlier, aluminium, in aluminium you can see there is a oxide. So if it is a food industry or kitchen material, so you can see in hotels they are using stainless steel. Surface should be designed in such a way as to not accumulate dirt, right? To avoid dirt. It means you have to avoid edges, right? In edges, you know, it's very difficult to clean. And drainages should be easy to clean and prevent pest. Here, this is also a very important one. You can see pests are coming through these drainage lines and tubes and some places. So the animals and pests are coming to the kitchen. Lighting, ventilation, waste or disposal, temperature, humidity should also be controlled. Temperature, you know, the danger zone. So always try to avoid that danger zone. And humidity, it is again important. If it is a meat-based if it is a meat-based or fish-based product line, so we have to provide very low temperature, right? Air condition facility or chilling facility should be maintained at that process, right? And you can observe these examples in fish processing companies, fish or meat processing companies. So there is a process from raw fish to there is a value addition process. So the raw material receiving area is there, then food chain is there. At the end of the process, pack those foods and export. So from raw material to final product, it will take around several hours, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So until processing, you can see there is a temperature increasement if we use room temperature conditions. So the 37 degrees of Celsius means very good temperature for microbial growth. Then the final quality will be changed. So therefore, if you are going to start or process fish or meat like highly susceptible food items, so temperature should be controlled. So we can process with such foods with ice, or the temperature can be decreased, right? If we decrease the temperature up to minus or whatever the even zero, so it is very difficult to work. So therefore, what we are doing is we use ice or temperature controlling agents throughout the processing line, right? If you go to the industry, you can see these things. And lighting also very important. Ventilation should also be there. Food safety hazards. What is a hazard? You know, hazard is actually a threat, right? Hazard is actually a threat. So there are so many threats in your lives also. When you go to the university by bus or by your vehicle or using any other transport method, so there are so many risks, right? So there are risks, but but we can identify these risks and also solutions, right? There are solutions. So hazard means, right? Hazards means there are threats, but we are going to identify those things as threats and find solutions, right? The threats and hazards are two different terms, right? When you go to road, there are so many risks, threats, but not hazards. If you have identified these threats before moving to the road and find solution those things, it means that is a hazard, right? In the food industry, there are three types of hazards: biological, chemical, and physical hazards. And the ultimate objective of identifying hazard is to also to prevent foodborne illnesses, right? A biological, chemical, or physical agent that is reasonably like to cause illness or injury in the absence of its control, right? Here you can understand, in the absence of its control. There are so many hazards, threats, But if it is a hazard, there are controls. So we have to identify the controlling methods, right? You can see some examples for biological, chemical, and physical hazards. Biological means live things, and chemical hazards are also there. Aflatoxin issue, can you remember that one? It is actually a chemical hazard, right? And sometimes you can see in your canteen, it is probably happens. There are some hair particles, toothpicks, like things available in your food, right? And you can see some nail metal particles in foods, right? So there are three types of hazards in the food industry: biological, chemical, and physical. So we will be discussing how to these things in detail in next year under the quality management, right? How to avoid hazards, how to control these things, what are the control methods, control measures, preventive action, everything we are going to discuss, right? Hazards, conditions, or contaminants in food that can cause illnesses or injury to people. All of these defects must be controlled in food processing, must be identified and controlled, right? Then biological hazard, you can read, you know what are the biological hazards. It means live things, right? There are some, and there are some, when it comes to microbes, there are some beneficial microbes and pathogenic microbes. So, and university students also, there are some good students and bad students. Likewise, in the microbes also, we have good ones and bad ones, beneficial ones. So we can't produce yogurts and some toddy, as we discussed yesterday, toddy, and there are so many fermented products are available in the market. So beneficial microbes are there, right? And we can't produce even a bread without having microbes. But there are so many spoilage, means pathogenic bacteria and viruses are also there, right? So biological hazard, under the biological hazards, there are microbes. They play the critical role in biological hazards. So there are two types of microbes. And microbes, and biological hazards also, the temperature, pH, food, moisture, oxygen level, and carbon dioxide level. These things are very important, right? Basically, you know that the temperature, the room temperature is very good for microbes, and the pH, neutral pH. As an example, pH 7 is the best pH value for most bacteria and microbes. And moisture content is highly uh, needed, and oxygen. And there are some non-aerobic bacteria also, so they need not to have oxygen, but most of the bacteria and microbes, they need oxygen. So how to prevent their growth? Then there are, before that, it is important to identify these factors and control, right? You can see in some extruded products, as an example, TP-tip, right? TP-tip like products, the moisture content is very low. pH, it's somewhat around 6 or 7, and temperature is okay. Then they use room temperature. So it is the microbes, you can't. It's very difficult to find. But when it comes to a bread, you have this experience. When we expose a piece of bread for 2-3 days, then fungus will. You can see fungus. If it is meat or fish, a piece of fish or meat, then no fungus, but there are microbes, sorry, bacteria, right? So there are different types of microbes. They grow, their environmental conditions are very important to control. So if it is a low moisture food, then the fungus will grow. If it is high moisture food, then there are so many bacteria, right? Then we can control oxygen to avoid microbes, right? And further, we can divide these factors as intrinsic and extrinsic factors. Extrinsic factors mean the environmental factors, as we discussed: temperature, moisture, humidity, light conditions. So, we can classify internal factors. So intrinsic factors means the inside factors of the food. But nowadays, due to this COVID virus, right, what we are doing is practicing is, when we go to the market, we buy some packed food products and expose those food products to the sunlight for few hours or minutes. So we believe, as a result of this, the temperature and sun radiation, the microbes will kill or control. Viruses will kill or control. Neither. So likewise, those factors can be categorized under intrinsic and extrinsic. You can see the examples here: extrinsic temperature, RH, and gaseous environment means what we call is an oxygen concentration, oxygen to carbon dioxide level, like factors. Right? There are some examples. Intrinsic, the moisture content is very important, right? And carbon, nitrogen, the nutrient content. So it is, if it is a highly susceptible foods, basically they are highly nutritive foods. As an example, meat, dairy, fruits and vegetables. So nutrition levels are high. So like bread-like things, the nutrition is comparatively low. So carbon, nitrogen level is low, right? And some physical stages are important. Structure also very important. There are some natural protective layers in some foods. Example, give me example. Coconut, bale fruit. You can see some natural protective layers. And also eggs, you can see natural protective layers. There are some layers. We can preserve eggs for around sometimes 1 month. So if we remove the protective layers, then we can't preserve it at least 2-3 hours. So these things are very important, basic things you can read and understand. So I'm not going to explain further. And indicator microbes, you can see some indicator microbes. They reflect the microbial quality of that food, right? There are some color changes, and so they behave as the indicators, right? We can use these microbes as the indicator to measure whether it is contaminated or not, right? Then we can get decisions by using these indicators. Examples: total aerobic count, coliform, enterobacteria, enterococcus, yeast, and molds. So, right, there are so many several examples, and if there are any coliform if there are if we when we check the sample, there may be some coliforms, right? As I discussed in the at the when we start this lecture, I gave you example regarding the vegetables. So there are several coliforms. So it means there is a fecal contamination, right? And when we detect Enterobacter, right, Enterobacter variety, it means gut flora. So basically, they grow in our gut, right? So there are contamination. There is a contamination, then we can determine what is the source, right? Okay, likewise, these are the we call it as indicator microbes, right? Then you can remember this example coliform, right? If there are at least even there is a 1 or 2 coliform, it means definitely there should be a fecal contamination, right? So Indicator microbes should meet the following criteria: present and detectable in all given foods. Right? Detectability is very important. Their growth and number should have a negative correlations with product quality. What is the meaning of that? Then suppose you are the quality manager of that company, then you are going to check the what do you call the get the microbiological report for your food. Then there is a coliform growth, right? Then the coliform growth, it means coliform number of coliforms are 10. Then after a few days, you are going to get another report, the second report. There the count is 20. It means the quality, the first day, the quality, you can determine X as X. And the second day, the quality is Y. So, with the highest numbers, the quality will decrease. If there are highest numbers, it means it's spoiled much. More spoiled food. The microbial level is higher. So it means the negative correlation with the quality, right? If there are highest numbers, it means the quality is low. That is the meaning of negative correlations. Should be easily detected and enumerated and be clearly distinguishable from other organisms, right? It means there are so many microbial varieties are available, but it is very difficult to detect. But if it is a indicator microbe, it means it should be easily identified and it should be easily distinguishable. It means easily identified. So you know that gems are available in Sri Lanka. Everywhere we have gems. So they are easily identified with other types of minerals. Right? Easily available. They are available and easily identified. Right? But there are some other minerals, it is very difficult to identify. So if it is an indicator, it means it should be easily identified. Their growth should not be affected by other components of the food microbiota. It means the indicator should be independent, right? Independent, not affected by any other microbe, right? So those are the things, important things for indicator microbes. So you know the examples for some indicator microbes. So they should be easily identified and easily detected. And again, the two important points are there in food safety. It means infection and intoxication, right? Infection and intoxications are very important terms, but the people, they are using infection word. Basically, we use the IC infection, right? That is general word, but as technologists, these two terms are important. Infection means, right? If it is an infection, if it means, right? If it is infection, it means microbes are available in our body, right? Infection means microbes are available in our body. Intoxications means microbes are available in the food and they have developed some toxins and we get contaminated with that toxin, right? Clear? Infection means microbes are inside our body, maybe in the intestinal tract, or if it is a food hazard, basically microbes are inside the intestinal tract, in our digestive tract. So toxication means intoxication. So toxication, what is you can toxic. So toxic are there. Intoxication means, right? Microbes are there in the food and they have developed toxic toxins, and after we consume that food, we get contaminated with that toxins, right? So microbes might also there, but we get contaminated with it with these toxins. As a result of these toxins, we get abnormal, right? Give me examples for toxins. There are several types of toxins. Aflatoxin, you know, aflatoxin is there. There is no microbe. That is a toxin. But the related microbe is, what is the related microbe for aflatoxin?
Aspergillus flavus.
Huh?
Aspergillus.
Yes, it's a type of fungus. So it is a type of fungus. So they are working on oil surfaces and develop this toxin, aflatoxin. So aflatoxin is not an infection; it is an intoxication, right? Okay, then spores. Spores means you know the meaning of spores, and some spores are available. There are some heat resistant spores, and temperature and pH resistant spores are there. Um, um, very resistant to the chemicals, heat, and other treatments. So spores are not hazardous as long as they stay spores, right? Spores are not hazardous as long as they stay as spores, right? May become a hazard in the food if they are allowed to grow, right? Not hazardous as a spore, but after let it to grow, then there is a hazard, right? Then you can see the spore forming bacteria and non-spore forming bacteria. Botulinum, you know, there is a very famous illness called as botulinum. So that is the responsible bacteria. And non-spore forming bacteria are also there. So you can remember 1-2 names. And when it comes to food industry, these things are important. And there are some hazardous intoxications and infections. You know the differences in between two terms. So if it is a spore forming bacteria, spores are there. So might be toxic or non-toxic, and let them to behave as a spores. But if it is a if we provide some environmental conditions, then they will grow and produce toxin, right? And some viruses are also there. So you know you can read. I am not going to read these things, so it's easily identified. Parasites and worms, you can read. And these are the things we discussed. We are going to discuss with you today. So food safety is very important. I hope that you have get something from these slides, and it is very important and very general things. Everybody they know what is food safety and the hazards and toxins. When you go to the market, in Mudalali also know food hygiene, everything they know, but there are some technical things, right? In even in Facebook also you can see some news and some articles. Don't eat this food, right? Don't take these foods, and you can take this type of food. So there are so many comments. But as you technologists, please uh, go through these technical things, right? Sometimes you can see the Coca-Cola is very bad, but other US people and other European people, they consume Coca-Cola rather than having water, neither 2-3 bottles per day. But water they use at least uh, half liters. But in our country, you know, there are so many food scientists in Facebook and newspapers, though you have to fight. There's a fight. Doctors also comment on these foods, but they don't know what are the technical things. So you are there, food technologists are there. So You have that responsibility to convey the message and to generalize these knowledge techniques among the general public. So what are the hazards and toxics, everything you know. So you can read more details are available in these, since the food safety is very common topic under food technology. So you can download more videos and papers, everything, presentations even. So and identify the technical things. Right. Thank you very much for joining today. So I have uploaded second part to the LMS, and I am not going to discuss the second part via Zoom. So you can read both first and second part and understand. And then at the end of this lecture series, you will have a discussion session. So the second part is very easy. So I'm not going to explain that part, right? Then please read it. And at the end of this series, we will have a session. So you can ask questions. And we will discuss more technical things, right? Okay. Thank you very much for joining. And please read the 2 parts available in the LMS folder. Okay.
Sir, excuse me, sir.